The people who owned the property were the Johnsons. They were famous because they went to Africa and brought back wild animals from the zoo. We climbed over the fence one day and our hearts were beating hard in our chests. The rumor was that there were wild animals in there somewhere. The vegetation was very dense and we picked our way through until we came to what looked like stables, but they weren't stables. They were pens and cages for the animals. Our mouths fell open when we saw black panthers behind bars. We saw lions and gorillas and zebras. Chills of wonder ran up and down our spines. The world was a new and exciting place, and we were just becoming aware of it. Then, Mr. Johnson came and chased us, but he was old and he couldn't catch us. We got safely back over the fence. It was our great secret that we had seen these wonders. We didn't even tell the other kids about it. We used to go back and stand outside the fence, but we never went over it again.
And then a few years later, the bulldozers came, knocked down the house, cleared the land. They put up houses, built roads and sidewalks. Think of money. Think only of money.
I think of money all the time, but it doesn't make my memories go away.
Well, if you work at it hard enough, if you are sincere.
I'm sincere. I swear to God I'm sincere.
I thought you said you didn't like to talk about Brooklyn.
This was more than Brooklyn. This was the magic of childhood.
Yeah, the old Indian graveyard.
Yeah, remember that? It wasn't actually an Indian graveyard. We called it that, but it was a Civil War graveyard. Later, they fenced it in and put a memorial up. It said that Union soldiers who came from the neighborhood were brought back from Gettysburg and buried there. I wonder if it still exists.
Probably not. They probably paved it over and put a gas station there. Two old maids in a feather bed. One rolled over to the other and said,
I can't give you anything but love, baby.
Rosalie came from the wrong side of the tracks. Her father was a switchman on the railroad. When they were kids, she used to play with Brent in the abandoned ice house.
Okay. Brent came from the right side of the tracks. His father was president of the bank.
When they graduated from high school, Rosalie went to work in the sweatshop, and Brent went away to college. They didn't see each other for 4 years.
When he finished college, Brent came back to town in a horse and buggy. He was a very snappy dresser. All the girls from the right side of the tracks set their bonnets for him, but he didn't want to settle down. He wanted to party.
One day, Tom and Rosalie ran into each other on the street. She was still very beautiful. She was poorly dressed, but he didn't notice it.
Now, it's not Tom, it's Brent. Stop identifying with the character.
Right. Cupid came up behind Brent and shot him right in the ass with an arrow. He fell in love with Rosalie, but she had the sense to try to discourage him. She knew it would never work out between them.
Yeah. In the end, however, love conquered all. He persisted in his efforts to see her, and eventually she went for a ride with him in his horse and buggy.
They were drawn to the old ice house where they reminisced. When they could resist no longer, they fell into one another's arms.
Fade to black, but there was no doubt in anyone's mind that they had made it in the dusty straw in the shadow of the rotting sluice that ran down to the river.
But that was their business. Nowadays, you'd hear her bare ass slapping on the ground.
You can't hear asses hitting straw.
Right. You'd see her panties flying in the air while he dropped his shorts and...
Yeah. Naturally, she got pregnant. It didn't matter to Brent and Rosalie because they were in love and they wanted to get married.
But when Brent told his father, the old man flew into a rage. He told his son that if he married Rosalie, he'd be disinherited.
Brent defied his father. He married Rosalie anyway and moved to the wrong side of the tracks. His father-in-law got him a job on the railroad, and he and Rosalie moved into a cozy shack right next to the yard.
When the baby was born, Brent's father relented. There was a joyful reunion. In the end, everything worked out for everybody.
No, that's not what happened in the movie. It was called King's Row, and Ronald Reagan played Brent. He lost his legs on the railroad and went bananas. Don't you remember that?
I know. know, but I figured a happy ending was better. They don't make them like that anymore.
How could they? There'd be a shopping mall where the old ice house used to be.
Yeah, and Brent and Rosalie could never have gotten together when he got out of college. He'd have gone right to New York, gotten a job ripping people off in the stock market.
And she'd have gotten old before her time working in a sweatshop and worrying about her father because he would have lost his job on the railroad. He'd be collecting welfare, drinking beer, and watching the Minnesota Vikings on television.
Would have saved Brent's father a lot of aggravation.
Two old maids in a feather bed. One rolled over and the other one said,
"Put your arms around me, honey, hold me tight."
Life upon the wicked stage. Da, 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 da. Surely I was meant for better things.